wasn't quite sure where I was supposed to meet him, Connor O'Brien, my father's future business partner, a guy I'd never set eyes on but nevertheless was about to have dinner with. This was just another favor added to a very long list of favors that my father apparently felt I owed him. If I never heard the words, "Jilly, could you do me a favor?" spoken ever again, I'd be a very happy woman. "Please, Jilly, this is the last one, I promise," my father begged. Gavin was right. One day I was going to have to learn to say no. Today, however, was not it. Taking a deep breath, I pulled open the fancy wooden door. I'd walked past this restaurant a million times before, but had never stepped foot inside. There was a reason for this. It was way above my pay grade. The place reeked of expensive perfume, romantic interludes, and empty promises. All of these were things I steered as far away from as possible. I smoothed down the skirt of my dress before approaching the hostess stand. My shopping spree was a near bust. After trying on 12 dresses, I found one that would passably work. The top was a tad bit snug and the skirt too full. I looked like I was going to the prom instead of out to dinner. I stared at my reflection in the gold filigree mirror perched on the vestibule wall, and hated to admit it, but I was nervous. I'd barely had time to straighten my hair and apply makeup before the cab had arrived. I didn't want to be here. I had no time for this, whatever this was. I noticed the hostess's eyes on me and quickly moved from the vestibule to her podium. Wood paneling, gilded crown molding, and Asian wallpaper adorned the restaurant's walls, while crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. The room was over-the-top lavish. "Good evening," the hostess greeted. "Yes, hello. I'm meeting Connor O'Brien for dinner," I quietly announced. "Mr. O'Brien is waiting for you at the table. Shailene will be happy to escort you." She smiled stiffly at me. "Please follow me," the girl standing next to her stonily replied. My heels sunk into the plush carpet as I followed her through the restaurant. Jewels sparkled, silverware clanked, and voices faded in and out as we passed the tables of diners. What am I doing here? I asked myself for the 1,000th time. The place dripped of pretense. I thought back to my earlier conversation with my father. He knew how exhausted I was. For him to push this on me so last minute was unlike him. I tried to tell him no, but he insisted in his authoritarian voice, the one he used when he was overly irritated with me. "One does not say no to such an important man, Gillian." In the end, I gave in. Not because I wanted to, but because this whole thing reeked of desperation, which meant that Dad was probably in trouble again. I loved my father, but I didn't have much respect for him. He was scatterbrained, easily influenced, and therefore constantly taken advantage of. The last thing I ever wanted to do was disappoint him, but he was pushing my limits. I had better things to do than this, whatever this was. "Here we are," the waitress announced as we stepped out of a hallway and into another dining area. I spotted him before we reached the table. With his black hair, pale skin, and blue eyes, Connor O'Brien looked so very Irish. I mentally rolled my eyes. It figured that Dad would pick an Irishman. His charcoal-colored suit, blue pinstripe shirt, and silver tie told me nothing about the man except that he knew how to dress. Connor stood as I approached the table. "Gillian, at last we meet," he drawled. "I appreciate you joining me on such short notice." His voice was surprisingly deep and melodic. "I'm sorry I'm late," I lied. In truth, I wasn't sorry at all. "I should be the one apologizing for springing this on you at the last minute," he murmured while pulling out my chair. I watched as he made his way back to his seat and couldn't help but notice how tall he was, tall and broad-shouldered. "Can I get you something to drink?" the waitress asked. She smiled eagerly at Connor. He graced her with an appreciative smile, and I had to admit he was a very handsome man.
"Yes, thank you. Will you please bring us a bottle of your finest champagne and 2 glasses?"
The waitress visibly shivered. It looked as if I wasn't the only one affected by the man's voice. "Of course," she sputtered. While she was off retrieving our champagne, Connor's eyes turned to me.
"You're looking more beautiful than ever."
I gave him a questioning look, and he added,
"That dress is stunning on you."